And today, to make that impact, we've invited a very eminent doctor to speak to us about diabesity. You know, there's an association between obesity and diabetes. And also, you know, the doctor is, you know, his qualifications runs a few pages, you know, to be honest with you. So it's going to be not easy for me to share all the credentials, but many of you have seen, you know, his, you know, the flyer that we posted. One of the things that I loved about him was how he associates, you know, how he promotes commonsensical solutions, you know, to overcome diabetes and obesity, and how he connects, you know, there's an Indian connection to it that he's going to talk to us about. So Dr. Rachakonda is currently part of the faculty of a few reputed medical colleges in India and a consultant physician in internal medicine in Manipal Hospital in Bangalore. His short CV highlights are few pages long. The short one, the long one is like a book, okay? The highlight of the highlights is that he's a firm believer, you know, in the approach that teaching and sharing knowledge is the best way for self-development. He's highly motivated to educate himself and empower others to take better care of their health. He believes that prevention is the key to favorable health outcomes. He has over 280 CME talks, received numerous prestigious awards, presented over 30 research papers in various international and national conferences. He will be sharing his unique perspective on diabesity and how it can invariably lead to other chronic diseases. He'll share how each one of us can make an impact in helping people take better care of themselves through education, empowerment, and paying forward. His visionary ECHO program, Empowering Community and Health Outcomes, aligns with the core values of WMR movement and the mission to positively impact at least 1 million people in the next 5 years to live an impactful, happy, and vibrant life. And this seminar takes a special significance because of sudden demise of a Kannada actor, Puneeth Rajkumar, today, you know, due to cardiac arrest. And we see a lot of people, you know, suffering cardiac arrest in the 30s and 40s. It used to be called as an old age, you know, disease. But now we see people in their 30s and 40s passing away. We heard a few other celebrities having heart attacks, but they survived. But then a few months ago, there's another celebrity who was working out for 2.5 years, 2.5 hours, and then he passes away. So there's a lot of things going on with COVID and all of that. And really, it's a special honor that I'm going to invite Dr. Sarma Rachakonda to the stage, and I'll have him take over from here. Dr. Rachakonda, it's really a thank you. I know you're an extremely busy person, and thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge with us, your wisdom with us. And I'm going to shut up right now and listen and take notes. And I'm all ears to you, sir. Take over, sir, from here.
Thank you very much. And I'm very happy to be associated with your organization. And the brief talk we had the other day, around 10 days, has made me understand that you people are highly motivated to work for better health for all of us. So that's very nice. And sweet words of introduction made me more responsible to do the best. And I urge all of you, you can listen to the talk, and the videos may be off so that there won't be any distraction from the videos to me. So this is generally, I urge people. You can be in the muted mode, both audio and video, and the admins can take care of mute all so that, you know, there'll not be any disturbance whatsoever. And then we would like to discuss these things in a very simple way. And there are many doctor friends of mine who are here, and I urge them to just bear with me, because this is tailored to non-medical people. And obviously it will be very basic for them. And nonetheless, there will be some take homes for everyone. And having said that, I'm going to circulate the presentation of mine, so you don't have to take a verbatim notes of every line, but you can always jot down that which catches your eye and ear. And also I'm going to share you some quick tips of how best we can implement what I have said that, and these will be circulated to the admin, Mr. Nanda, and he will definitely see to it that it comes to your hand. So again, whenever we start anything, we have one phrase called idam namama. That is, this is also not mine. Everything is God's gift, and from his hands we are taking through our teachers, the great teachers, and through the generations, whatever has come, the collective experience of all the people we are using here, and nothing is these individuals. So that is the outside statement, a very opening statement I would like to make at every meeting. And now I will share the screen. Please see whether you are able to view it. And then once it is available for you to view, then I will start the talk. Okay.
Yes, sir. We can see.
Yeah. Okay. Very fine. So we start from a bud and blossom into a flower. The flower, of course, will wither. Between that and the bud stage, there are several things the flower can do. That is where we would like to concentrate. Needless to show this slide of my title and introduction, but of course, prevention of diabetes and obesity. This is available on our website, which will be there when the presentation is circulated. Now, the outline of my talk or the floor plan will be like this. What is diabetes and obesity? What is pre-diabetes? From blood sugar to blood vessel, cardiometabolic risk assessment. What are the co-thieves or associated culprits? Diabetes doesn't come alone. Obesity doesn't come alone. It's a family of friends, and we call them as co-thieves because they're entering into our fold. Organs targeted for onslaught by obesity and diabetes, prevention of complications, and what should we do? The simple solutions that we adopt in our lifestyle. Okay. This diabetes and obesity together are called diabesity. So there's a new term called diabesity, which is nothing but to sort of motivate us that we should reduce obesity, reduce diabetes, and vice versa. So there are certain diseases which are very common. For example, common cold, and none of us bother about that. There are certain diseases which are very serious, but very, very rare. So those are also not a great concern, and they may not be preventable either. In such a scenario, the emphasis is not much on prevention. When a disease is very serious and a disease is very common too, then of course we have the option of preventing it right before it becomes serious because it is common. Diabetes is one such, and its companion, obesity, is also very common nowadays, and both are hidden hazards. You may not realize how bad they are in terms of their seriousness, but you will see very shortly that we have to intervene right very early. Okay, you see this A here, then started working on the four limbs, then became erectus, then Homo erectus sapiens, that is the human being, then the caveman, who is still a human being. Now we have Coca-Cola man or Pepsi man or the cardiometabolic risk man with the tummy there and the drink always in his hand, and you see the webbed neck and the whole body is bloated as though somebody has pumped in a lot of air into him. This is not a rare picture. This is what we see in day in and day out. Is this evolution or devolution? You said you have to think about that. Are we evolving in terms of health and our management of the ill health problems with the mechanization of the world and with all the gadgets we have? Are we devolving? It took 500 billion years to make this map. 50 years, we crashed it. Is it good enough? Motivate yourself. All the evolution we had to become a very civilized man has been crashed in a matter of just 5 decades. And diabetes, as all of you know, there is 2 types. It is called type 1 and type 2. We don't really go more in details about this one because it is only 5% of diabetics are type 1. And they require a different approach, a different evaluation also. But this is the one which is preventable. Okay, type 2 diabetes, which is 95% of the patients of diabetes fall into that. Majority of the obese people end up in type 2 diabetes. What is the basic difference between the two? Here, it is absolute lack of insulin or deficiency of insulin. What is that? It is a hormone secreted from our from inside our stomach, from an organ called pancreas. And that insulin, if it is deficient, it produces what is called type 1 diabetes, right? The other one is insulin resistance. What is this? Insulin resistance means there is insulin, all right, but it is not doing its job properly. Rather, it is not allowed to do the job properly. For example, you employ 100 people in a factory. If all of them are absent, that is insulin deficiency. If all of them are present and they are only giving an output of 10%, remaining 90% output is not there from them, that is resistance. Isn't it employee resistance? Now we call it as insulin resistance here, as simple as that. Now, this slide should tell you what is insulin resistance. In the left-hand side, we have got the teacher and he is teaching. Almost all the students are very studious, except one guy who is asking for some clarification from his friend, and all others are very much learning. So there is insulin, there is compliance by the body to the available insulin. Look here, the question is, there is teacher, the insulin, but these guys are not attentive and they're not cooperating and doing their job. That is, they're resistant to the motivation given by the teacher. This is called IR, or insulin resistance. This teacher is the insulin is present, but the tissues and the body are not able to give their best for the presence of the teacher. Here you see the teacher himself is missing. So you see they're dancing, crying, putting all sorts of faces, and then doing this is called insulin deficiency. So insulin resistance and insulin deficiency, and diabetics, to start with, they have insulin resistance. As time progresses, they will also develop insulin deficiency. How big is the problem? You can see there is no part of the world which is colored in this map. And there are darker colors also. The African subcontinent, the Middle East, they show the prevalence is very high in them. In US and Canada and in India, we have a lot of diabetes. You can see at the bottom, I don't know whether the numbers are very small. In 2000, we had 31 million Indians who are diabetic. And in the projection in 2030, which is just knocking our door in 8 years, is 79 million Indians will be diabetic. China was leading in diabetes, but we have a dubious distinction of overtaking China and being the diabetic capital of the world. The 3 big countries, India, China, and US, are the ones who are the victims of diabetes. United States, because of the food, availability of food in plenty and the lot of junk food, and India and China, lack of physical activity, mainly China both, India lack of physical activity. coupled with affluence is the cause. See the top 10 countries: India, China, US, Indonesia, Japan, Pakistan, Russia, Brazil, Italy, and Bangladesh. Okay. How big is the problem? We saw in the world map, 35% of adults over 20 years are diabetics. 50% over 65 years are diabetics. There are 79 million Americans in 2010, and the number must have been much higher now. Double that number is there in India, because India is a populous country. Now, what does this mean? Every family has got 1 or 2 diabetics. We used to ask, is there a family history of diabetes when we were students of medicine? Now we have to ask, how many members of your family are not diabetics? So the question is, the other way around it is posed. Now there is a good news and a bad news about that. The good news, first we'll take it up. It is very simple to diagnose, very easy to screen, and underline the word preventable. That's what we are here for. And complications are available. Excellent quality treatment is available. And 30, 40 years before, we didn't have many options to treat diabetes. Today, we have excellent treatment, very good preventable strategies, and preventing complications, and very easy to diagnose. In your own home, you can sit and get screened and diagnosed. Then what is the bad news? It is not generally diagnosed until very late. And it is a serious vascular disease, that is disease of the blood vessels. So originally it was thought it was a metabolic disease, diabetes and obesity. Then they became endocrinology disease related to the hormones. And then they became vascular disease. Then they became cardiac underlying diseases. And then you can say it is now metabolic, endocrine, vascular, cardiovascular, and general morbidity is produced by these diseases. Diabetes is rated as equivalent to having 1 heart attack. If one person had a heart attack, the risk of him for life and complications is high, and same is true with people who have diabetes. Very serious complications. Here, I tell you, the commonest cause of preventable blindness is diabetes. The second common cause of amputation is diabetes. Okay. First is traumatic amputation due to accidents. If you put the accidents aside, the complication of amputation because of no circulation of blood to the legs is such a grave complication. Preventable blindness and heart attacks are caused by diabetes and obesity, the duo more so when the obese person becomes a diabetic. Now, when we were students, we were only asked to measure the blood sugar. Nothing else is required to know about the patient. That was the knowledge around 50, 60 years back. 1970s, I was a student. Now we are 50 years away from that. And now we have moved from blood sugar to the blood vessel. So it is no more a sweet disease like a blood sugar. So it should be called a disease of the blood vessel. In fact, better you name it as not sugar compliant, but rice compliant, because rice is sugar and sugar is rice. Okay, we Indians eat a lot of rice as a staple food. With the result, our rates of diabetes and complications and obesity are ever increasing. Okay, now this blood vessel disease doesn't stop short. It produces several complications related to the kidney, eyes, heart, brain, peripheral blood vessels, nerves, and whatnot. So that means every system in the body is affected because every system is served by the blood vessels, and the blood vessels are diseased because of obesity and diabetes. And you can imagine what sort of havoc can occur. So I told you, insulin is there all right, but it is not able to do its perfect function because the body is not able to utilize the insulin to the best, ability, and that is called IR. The other one is abdominal obesity, that is truncal obesity. Somebody having a huge pot belly like thing, like a 9th month pregnancy, 6th month pregnancy, not real pregnancy, the abdominal obesity. We rarely find people who have a flat abdomen like a tennis court. We already have a pot belly or cylindrical body. That is called the cause of diabetes and obesity. Abdominal obesity is the forerunner of all the risk factors in Indians, particularly in people who do not do much of physical activity. So we'll tackle that. So abdominal obesity and insulin resistance, they are like gear wheels. One propels the other. Abdominal obesity begets insulin resistance begets abdominal obesity. What is wrong with the fat in the abdomen? There is what is called the bad fat, and another is called the VAT fat. VAT fat is white adipose tissue. Bad fat is brown adipose tissue. Brown fat and white fat. What is the difference? Brown fat is good for health. White fat is harmful in terms of all these factors. So how can I manufacture more of bad fat and less of VAT fat? Abdominal obesity has more of VAT fat, W-A-T, VAT. And how can we change it? Can we do that? Yes, nature and nurture. Nature is genetics, nurture is what I do and what I eat. Both have a say in having better bad fat. Okay. Now, what are the various factors which are responsible for this duo of diabetes and obesity? Physical inactivity, and then overweight and obesity will be the first result, and that again coupled with poor eating habits, junk food, not wholesome food, large portion sizes, increased longevity of the population. Earlier they were perishing due to infections at 50, 60 years. Now people live for 70, 80, 90s. So that again poses the risk of obesity and diabetes. We can't ask people to live shorter. So we have to modify those things. Good to have quantity of life, but quality of life is also equally or more essential. Diabetes in the parents is another risk factor. Now we used to ask about that. Now we don't have to ask because everybody has one or the other parent has diabetics. That is itself a risk factor. And more importantly, being Indian itself is a risk factor for obesity and diabetes. Why is it so? Genetically, we are having two phenotypes. Phenotypes are genetic expressions, the phenotype A and phenotype B. Pheno B is associated with diabetes, and we Indians generally, 80% of the Indians here mean Southeast Asians. All Southeast Asians have a phenotype B, which we can't change to phenotype A, but the expression of phenotype B to produce diabetes can be handled by physical activity and nutritional therapy. Now, what are the common symptoms of diabetes? Usually no symptoms. We should not wait until the symptoms occur. In the late stages, one can have excessive hunger, excessive thirst, excessive frequent urination, particularly in the night. Weight loss is a feature of people who have very long-standing diabetes. Initially, they're obese. Afterward, they start losing weight because of severe diabetes. And less common symptoms are tiredness, unexplained tiredness, vision loss, blurred vision, skin infections, frequent itching, non-healing wounds, and frequent infections, respiratory, urinary tract infections related to the urine problems, urine infections, and cough, cold frequently. These could be less common presentations of diabetes. Okay. Now, diagnostic criteria, all of you must know this diagnostic criteria. The fasting plasma glucose of 126 or more is diagnostic of diabetes. 2-hour plasma glucose, that is, you give 175 grams of glucose orally through the mouth, and after that measure the plasma glucose, not blood glucose. Ask for plasma glucose. There is a slight difference in that. So 2 hours after that, if it is more than 200, that is also diagnostic of diabetes. Or randomly, if the sugar is more than 200, that is good enough to diagnose. There is another test called HbA1c. So in fact, it is 6.4. For convenience, I have put it as 6.5. Okay, 6.5 HbA1c. Should I have all the 4? Not required. Any one of them is diagnostic. A fasting plasma glucose. What is fasting? 8 to 10 hours, minimum 8 hours, maximum 10 hours of not taking anything solid except water. Okay, and that is fasting. So after that, take the blood sugar reading. That should not be more than 160. If it is diabetes. Then consume 75 grams of oral glucose from a Glucon-D or any glucose packet, not Glucon-C, Glucon-D or glucose packet, irrespective of the body weight. And then measure in between, no test, every 15 minutes, 1 hour, 1 minute, nothing. Just at the end of 2 hours, take one more reading. And if that is more than 200, that is again diabetes. Random, I don't want to have the time, the 75 grams of glucose, I don't want to fast. Okay, check random sugar. If it is more than 200, most likely it is diagnosis of diabetes. HbA1c is a summary measure of 3 months control of blood sugar. If that is more than 6.5, that again is diabetes. Then we have another term called pre-diabetes. So that also has to be understood, isn't it? So now FBG is fasting glucose, and 2 hours post 75 is PPG, and then the HbA1c. The 3 parameters. 1, normal, less than 100, less than 140, less than 5.7 HbA1c are normal. What do I do with them? Don't leave them. Put them on regular physical activity and good quality nutritional therapy. They are not really diabetics, but that we don't want them to become even pre-diabetics, and take care right at that age. Fasting sugar less than 100 and PP sugar less than 140, HbA1c less than 5.7. My patients ask me, sir, I'm not diabetic. Okay, you are not, but you are a future candidate. Why and how? You are an Indian, your mother and father, one of them at least is diabetic, and your habits have to change. Then only you can prevent diabetes. Next one, pre-diabetes. 126 we said diabetes, so 100 to 125 is pre-diabetes, 140 to 149 is pre-diabetes, and 5.7 to 6.4 is pre-diabetes, HbA1c. Now, what is diabetes? We saw in the last slide, more than 126, more than 200 ppg, and more than 6.5 of 6.5 more than or equal to 6.5 is HbA1c is diabetes. You should print these values not on a paper, but in your mind. Less than 100 fasting, less than 140 ppg, less than 5.7 HbA1c, time to start regular physical activity and watch your food, what you eat. Pre-diabetes, already the damage has started. You have to institute vigorous preventive measures. 100 to 125 fasting, 140 to 199 postprandial glucose, and 5.7 to 6.4 HbA1c. Many people ignore these warning signs. They wait until they become diabetic, by which time 50% of the insulin is already gone from the body. So, okay, 50% of insulin is missing by the time one is diagnosed as diabetic. Okay. Okay. Now, impaired first, so don't worry about those names. Now, what will happen if I'm a pre-diabetic? This is pre-DM. The studies have shown that 25% of them, they remain as pre-diabetic, and then 25% they become normal with your interventions, and 50% of people over a period of 10 years, they become diabetic. So this is good enough reason to intervene and see that we don't manufacture new diabetics in them. So we have to treat IGT is pre-diabetes. And don't worry about the term IGT. IGT is pre-diabetes. What is pre-diabetes? I have shown you in this slide. And that is a forerunner for diabetes. And all the background here is obesity. Very rarely thin people are diabetics. There are other reasons other than obesity which can cause diabetes. And that is a subset of people, diabetics, which are not obese, but most of them are. What are the risk factors for diabesity? So diabesity, we told the term diabetes and pre-diabetes, age 40 years or older, overweight, BMI more than 25. What is this BMI? Most of you know, but I will give you a rule of thumb for the weight in the next slide. Physical inactivity. And then physical inactivity is always with the cell phone. Couch potato is called the couch potato. And the mouse potato. Mouse potato, couch potato is TV man. Mouse potato, mobile or the laptop or desktop. Asian Africans, Asians are Africans. Ethnicity, family history of diabetes, excess abdominal fat, which is WAT fat. And then hypertension or treatment for hypertension, previous pre-diabetes, cholesterols, and then black pigmentation. I will show you some slides. Increased waist circumference, history of diabetes when the woman is pregnant, they are more at risk of becoming permanent diabetics. And finally, mothers who have given birth to large babies, more than 3 kilograms weight, and that is a very important risk factor for maternal diabetes. Okay, how to reduce our risk then? Make your health a high priority, which is usually not. My high priority is what school my son should study and what cell phone I should buy, which property I must be seeking. Health is in the fourth, fifth, or in the last bench for priority. Know your targets: weight, waist, sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure. Get moving very early. Exercise regularly. 30 minutes of brisk walking per day is all that is asked. You don't have to do big exercises. If you can, it is better. But at least the minimum thing is 30 minutes of brisk walking. When I say brisk walking, people should think, oh, where is this man running? Or you should sweat, and then you should feel the sweat. Lose weight if you are overweight. To lose 1 kilogram weight, you understand, we need to cut down 7,000 calories. And if you want to cut down 200 calories per day, which is very difficult to cut down 200 calories, then it takes 35 days. If one is cutting down 100 calories per day regularly, it takes 70 days to reduce 1 kilo. If I am 10 kilos overweight, I require 700 days of intense activity, which means around 2 years. Means very difficult, very easy to get, and very difficult to lose the weight. Like the price, this one no, always going up, and there is no going down. Choose healthy foods, adopt healthy habits. What are they? We will give you the handout. Get regular checkups at least once a year, above 45, and then manage your stress, adequate sleep. This is one thing which you all ignore. We're working very late, getting up very early for work, and not for 5 hours of rest is not adequate. 6 to 8 hours, minimum of 6 hours, and maybe up to 8 hours. Okay. There are certain myths as far as diabetes is concerned. I am young, I will not have diabetes. No, as early as 15, 20 years also. one can have type 2 diabetes. None in my family has diabetes. I may not get it, not required, not really the case. It may not be from the parents, it may not be from the nature or genetics, but it is from the nurture or what we eat. My parents are diabetic, I will sure get it. That is also not true, because the parents, even if they're diabetic, if you really work hard to keep your exercise and physical activity and also the diet, you will definitely not get it. I want only tablets and I cannot restrict my food, not possible. Here, restricting the food, associated tablets and exercise is the formula, and you can't have a package without food and exercise. My legs are painful, I cannot walk. That is other way around. The legs are paining because you are not walking. If you start walking, the legs pains will go down. I have to stop medicines to test blood sugar? No. You be on the medicines and then test. The question is whether the medicines are adequate or not. So I took tablets for 2 years and my diabetes is gone. No, it's not possible. It will be with you. Like it is not a guest. It is like a family member. Once it comes, the question is it will be more or less controlled or not, but it is going to be there. So long-term use of tablets harms my health? No. Insulin injections are harmful? No. If you deserve and you need insulin, the doctor will tell you, you have to take. I'm a diabetic, I cannot have good family life. Certain extent, yes, but if you control your diabetes, there should not be any problem with the family life. Diabetes cures in other systems of medicine. I use this pathy, that pathy, Tirupati and all pathis, and I don't know because I'm not trained in them and I cannot recommend those things. Okay. Now, what does it? We said complications are a problem in this disease. What are the complications? Heart attacks, brain stroke. You see people with paralysis and not able to walk with one limb like that, and kidney failure, and then blindness, and then amputation. The single most cause of preventable amputation after accidents is diabetes. The single most cause of blindness used to be the vitamin A deficiency. It is replaced by diabetes. Laser treatments and so many changes in the eye, right from cataract, glaucoma, and then the retinal changes and all that. Renal failure is of two types again. One, the soft part of the kidney can be damaged, or the blood vessels of the kidney can be damaged. Both can beget serious renal disease. Okay, you see here, people with normal, the risk of cardiovascular disease, that is all the things which we told are diseases of heart and blood vessels, cardiovascular disease. If it is 6, if you are a pre-diabetic, that is 12. If it is newly diagnosed diabetes, 18. If you're already 5 years diabetic, 27, 6 to 27, a huge quantum jump in the percent of people who have the complications once it is 5 years old diabetic. Okay. Moderate risk, modifiable risk factors, obesity, body fat distribution, increase in the waist circumference, physical activity, elevated sugars, cholesterols and hypertension, smoking and alcohol. These are called modifiable risk factors because you can modify these things, and the other things are non-modifiable. What are the non-modifiable? My age, gender, and then my Indianness or ethnicity, and then my phenotype. Okay, these are certain things. My parents, being diabetic, these are things which I cannot manage. Okay, but whereas I can manage what are listed here, like obesity, waist, inactivity, fasting sugars, cholesterols, BP, smoking and alcohol, of course. So clustering of these risk factors occurs. This is what is called a new terminology called metabolic syndrome. What is this metabolic syndrome? It is clustering of all these factors. And 32% of the Indians have metabolic syndrome. Is it good news? Is it music? 32%, 1/3 of the Indians are having metabolic syndrome. These people are 3 times more likely to have myocardial infarction, that is heart attack and brain stroke. there's a 5-fold risk of development of type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes together drive the heart epidemic, CV epidemic. So what is that? Today, the diagnosis of metabolic syndrome, heart risk is not stethoscope, but an inch tape. Okay, what should be my waist? Men 34 inches or 85 centimeters, women 32 inches or 80 centimeters. That is ideal. The cutoff value is 36, more than 36 is increased, more than 34 is increased in case of women. The lower, the better, towards 32, towards 34. Now here, which particular Indian man of 35 or 40 years or woman of, after 1 or 2 children have these measurements? Those Ajanta cell pumps and all that have gone, we are replaced with the cylinders and all-rounders. So we are all becoming all-rounders. If you take care, we can definitely, this one, you see the black pigmentation on the nape of the neck, on the back of the neck, and also on the wherever the flexural folds in the axillae, that is in the neck here and this part of the neck, this dark black pigmentation. This is technically called acanthosis nigricans, which is an indicator of metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is the elder sister of diabetes and is an younger sister of obesity. Okay, so they're all one. Metabolic syndrome, diabetes, obesity are all from the same family. Common soil hypothesis. They are because of the same sort of mechanism. Now you see this is also sort of another important thing is the knuckle areas. You see here, the knuckle areas are darker than the, slightly they will be darker, but if they're as dark as this here, then it is again suggestive of metabolic syndrome. I know all of you are looking at your knuckles now, but there's no point in worrying about the black color of the knuckles. Work for that and the pigmentation will go away. So I showed you certain slides. So this is the nape of the neck, on the folds of the neck, in the neck folds front, in the axillae and armpits, and on the knuckles, dark pigmentation, forewarns that we are having metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome could be an associate of obesity, an associate of diabetes, or both. Metabolic syndrome tells me there is insulin resistance. We know insulin resistance begets abdominal obesity and also begets diabetes. This can give abdominal obesity or it can give diabetes. So metabolic syndrome and all these are one and the same. Now you see a person whose BMI is less than 23 and the waist is less than 90 centimeters, a man, his risk is 1. Suppose the BMI is more than 23 and waist also is increased, weight and waist, the risk is 16. But BMI is less, but waist is more, 8. The other way around, waist is less, but the weight is more. Between the two, waist and weight, if you are asked to choose, you have to keep the waist in check, because having a bigger waist, that is the belly, is a greater risk than weight. But doesn't mean that we should have overweight. So weight and waist both are important, more so the waist. Okay. Now how do I know which is my normal weight? This is the rule of thumb. Simply height in centimeters minus 100. Let us say I am 165 centimeters and my ideal weight should be 65. Another person is 170 centimeters and then minus 100, expected ideal weight is 70 kilograms. Okay, take the height in centimeters, subtract 100, and if somebody is 150 centimeters and then minus 100, 50 kilograms. This works between 150 to 180. It doesn't work below or after that. And this is the AMN height range. All of us are 150 to 180. So just subtract 100 and you will get the ideal weight. It's the easiest way of understanding. Okay, ideal weight is, you can do the BMI calculation on your Mobile itself, you type the numbers, you know the BMI. What is body mass index? Normally, it should be 25 for every other country and 23 for Indians. Okay, how do I get that? Height in meters, a meter square divided by weight. Height in meters square divided by the weight. This one. Height in meter square divided by the weight. And I want to know the ideal weight. Okay. So I want to get the BMI. I take the weight as the 65 kilos is the weight. Height in meter square is the denominator. And that should give less than 25, preferably less than 23. Many people are not interested in that. They are interested to know what is the ideal weight that they should be weighing. So we know the weight is there, 165 centimeters square, 1.65. And that you have to have BMI not more than 23. And you get it. The answer is 63 kilos. A person of 165 centimeters should not weigh more than 63. And I doubt how many of us are really within that, which means what? We have to start our preventive work now. So now I'll not go more deep into that. And then see, this is the thing, normal less than 23 is normal, 23 to 25 is overweight, more than 25 is obesity. In Indian scenario, waist 34 and 32 and 36 and 34 are the upper limits of abdominal obesity. Okay, so increasing every year. This is about the prevalence. I'm going to skip this slide. And this is not an uncommon scenario, an era of waists and hips and waists, apple-shaped obesity and pear-shaped obesity. Pear will be like that. Apple obesity is truncal obesity. The pear obesity is the hip, and this is the abdomen. Both are there. Main culprits, remember, the cardiometabolic risk is driven by diabetes, and then you have obesity and associated friend cholesterols, and then high blood pressures, and you also have smoking and alcohol. Together, they drive the heart attacks and cardiometabolic risk. So in treatment of diabetes, the HbA1c should be controlled, blood pressure should be controlled, cholesterol should be normal. That's why called A, B, C. A for A1c, B for blood pressure, C for cholesterol. So what are my normal cholesterol numbers? The green one is a protective cholesterol. It should be more than 50. And this is the less triglyceride. Total cholesterol is less than 200. Triglyceride cholesterol less than 150. The dangerous cholesterol is less than 100 is normal. Easy to remember: 50, 100, 150, 200. These are all bad cholesterols. A policeman, HDL, one policeman can take care of 4 fellows. 1:4. If this is 30, he can only take care of 120. This cannot be more than 120. You understand? HDL is the police and the rest of them are the thieves. The police can handle, one HDL can handle 4 culprits in toto and 2 culprits of the dangerous type. So if your HDL is lower, you have to keep the other cholesterols also. Look at this boy, hardly 10 years old. TV is hardly 2 meters, 2-3 feet away. There is a big junk bottle, Coke bottle, the chips, and it's got so many stored in the bag also. Munchie. This is what is called the couch potato. And then look at this. Television watching became even more convenient with the Sony's introduction of a new remote controlled remote. So this man wants to control the remote using this remote because he doesn't want to exercise that much also. This is how the mechanization. Ultimately, there will be machines who will bring food and feed into our mouth. Munching only we have to do. Even the hand exercise, little bit exercise is the hand. That also is going to go away. Remember, days are not far off. This man is asked to walk a dog. What did he do? He bought a dog faithfully, tied it to the treadmill so that it won't run, and the leash in his hand, put the treadmill on, he with his jetty and the Coke bottle there and the TV in front of him. This seat will not be adequate for him after 1 year. The dog has become thinner and he is becoming thicker and thicker. This is how we walk a dog. 2.5 million years, 50 years, McDonald man, Burger King man, all sorts of this one, cardiometabolic man. The deadliest of the devils, smoking, childhood smoking, adolescent smoking, women smoking, passive smoking, public places smoking. Is not the way we are spoiling ourselves? Just consider how bad smoking can be. This man is smoking happily. See the glee in his face, and he is smoking his leg to ashes. Okay, if one smokes a cigarette, the leg is smoked to ashes. So there is a beautiful Bhartrihari verse which says, Bhogena bhungta vayameva bhungta. The bhogas we are not enjoying. The bhogas are enjoying us. Smoking is not, he is not enjoying the smoke. The cigarette is enjoying him. So that is what it happens. Tell me what harm smoking does not cause. And foot examination in all diabetics and obese people using a mirror, just as we do makeup for our face, we should be looking at early detection, aggressive risk modification. Now we don't call exercise, we call it as physical activity. We don't call dieting, which is a negative connotation, medical nutrition therapy, and keep the ideal weight. Physical activity and medical nutrition therapy. So these can prevent pre-diabetes, future diabetics, and prevents heart attacks and all that. Now, what are the simple solutions? I'm going to go through these things a little quickly because this handout is going to be given to you. And you see diet restrictions, regular physical activity, lose the tummy, the abdominal fat, and medications whenever prescribed, do not stop and use them, tight blood sugar control, frequent follow-up, home blood glucose monitoring, keeping BP within the normal range, periodic testing of the eyes, and extreme care of the feet, prompt treatment of any infections, stop smoking, alcohol, and junk food. So what foods I should eat? Fats and oils and sweets, that much. This is called healthy pyramid from WHO nutritional guide. So this is the cereals and bread, vegetables, soups, fruits in plenty, yogurt, milk, cheese, to some extent, dry beans, nuts, and also 2 to 3 servings. Very little of saturated fats, very sparingly used. Whatever this is colorful, wonderful. For diet, you choose varieties of colors, green, orange, yellow, purple, carrot color, banana color, pumpkins, watermelons, papayas, everything which is colorful is very good. Simple solutions. I'm going to circulate these things. So I'm not just putting them here for want of time because I'm nearing another 5 minutes is left for me. Avoid coffee or tea and sweetened beverages. Leave sugar to choice. So we have this one, guest comes, we put 1 more extra spoon because we want to give them more sweet coffee. Cannot avoid, take them without sugar, no cream. Do not offer coffee as courtesy, give instead buttermilk. This is what we were doing before the British came. And the moment he comes, how do you want coffee? He has just taken 2 cups in the next friend's house, 1 more cup now. So give lime juice, tender coconut, buttermilk, or healthy drinks. Be vegetarian as far as possible. Whole wheat flour with the covering there is better than refined flours. Egg white is okay, not yellow. And then envy only on special occasions. Celebrate festivals and guest hospitality, not with sweets. Diwali is around the corner. You don't give them any sweets packet. Instead, give them nuts or give them a plant to plant in their backyard. Crunchy, munchy, fat-fried food is very tasty, I know, but heart doesn't like its taste. Okay, simple eating habits, boiled, steam cooked, stewed food, don't gift sweet or accept sweet, At parties, don't be tantalized towards the sweets and ice creams. I see long queues near the ice cream counter and very few people around the salads. So pickles, papads are Indian specialties, delicacies to be used with caution. Whole fruits are healthy, canned juices are not. Never force food on others. This is another thing. We go on serving, until they leave 50% of the food, and we just, the Indian way, but don't do that. Leave it on the table and let one person decide. Limit the quantity. Keep some food and room for tomorrow. You don't have to eat everything today itself, because there is what is called tomorrow, and we hope to live to that. So this is another concept I'm bringing in here. FIT. What is FIT? Frequency, intensity, and time. So if I cannot do every day, I can do more intense exercise or more duration. If one can do more duration, his intensity can be reduced, his frequency can be increased. For example, I cannot do any intense activity and I can do only 15 minutes. I can make it 3 times a day to make it 45 minutes, increasing the frequency. This is called the exercise volume. The concept is volume of the exercise. This depends upon the FIT, frequency, intensity, and the time. Depending on your body, depending on your age, depending on your medical conditions, either frequency or intensity or the time can be modified to get proper exercise. This is from the American College of Endocrinology, American Association of Clinical Endocrinology. 60 minutes a day physical activity plan for kids. For whom? For kids. 30 minutes turn off the TV and video games and get into the playground. Run, play tag, play sport, jump. In childhood, we were not seen after 5 o'clock. Throw the books there, go for 2 hours of playing outdoor. Today, which kid is playing? Just like the other kid, they are right in front of the TV or with their mobile phone now. Take 15 minutes of walk and take your family with you. And 15 minutes ride your bicycle. That is good enough exercise for a child. Okay, so maybe another 2-3 minutes. I'm going to close it. Exercise solutions. It is convenient to exercise, comfortable, safe to work out. Build in exercise into your routine household work and also into your office work. Do some watering of the plants, gardening, and then household chores. They will consume your calories. And short walk before breakfast or after dinner is always good. 5 to 10 minutes workup. You have to do physical activity in your daily life. Walk to the corner store and then cutting salon. Supposing I want to go to the cutting salon, I go by walk. Oh, doctor is walking. He doesn't have car. He sold the car already. Oh, his practice is not there. So that's why he must be walking. People think like that. But many a time, I see professors in Western universities cycling themselves to the school, to the grad school and PG school. And that is how we have. And watching TV, if you want to watch, jog or pedal a stationary bike, throw away your video and TV remote. At least some time will be spent in searching the remote. And that will be a time spent on exercise. Iron your own dress. Get up off the couch and drink a cup of water for yourself. Don't ask, hey, bring water, not like that. Stand up while walking. You see now, I'm standing and talking to you. Now, the reason is not that I wanted to stand for any other reason other than health reason. Walk a dog, not like the other person who has walked it. Park away from the shopping mall and walk that extra distance of 2 blocks. Plan a trip. These are some of the office. Discuss with ideas with co-workers while taking a walk. Stand while talking on the telephone. Walk down the hall to speak to someone. Don't send an email message or a WhatsApp message. My son lives in the first floor. Then we say, oh, son, please come, food is ready. WhatsApp. Yeah, he'll say, not now, after half an hour. What is this? We can as well go up and call, or he can come down and take the food. Take stairs instead of the elevator for 2 or 3 levels. Do not look for a chair. When we go to the railway station, the first thing is which chair is vacant. We don't want to walk in the platform and take a walk with a little of 5 kilograms of bag, which is exercise, beautiful exercise. This is how we build in exercise and food habits into our daily thing. I'm going to share these slides with you. Simply speaking, I'm going to close it another 2-3 minutes. Our habits are too bad, need drastic change. Turn to vegetarian, fiber-rich food, fruits, and milk. There are 3 poisons in our home. What are they? Yes, wo, yes. Yes is salt, wo is oil, yes is sugar. Salt, oil, sugar, or sugar, oil, salt. Trividham narakasyedam dwaram nashanamatmanah kamakrodha tatha lobha tasmadhyetatrayam chajet. This is Bhagavad Gita. There are 3 ways of downfall for you. Trividham narakasya idam dwaram. The 3 gateways for downfall. What are they? Kamaha, krodhaha, tatha lobha. Tasmad, therefore, etatrayam, all these 3, chajet, to keep them at a distance. Now, trividham narakasyedam dwaram nasanam shariraha. Shakkara, lavanam, tatha tailam. Shakkara, sugar, lavanam, salt, tailam, oil. Tasmad etatrayam chajet. Better keep them away. The less we consume, the safer is our heart. Drive the devils out, smoking and alcohol. Determined to move your feet, limbs, and bend. Otherwise, sooner the heart stops moving. Okay, so only 2 options. Heed to this, or we all will perish. If we don't heed to this, this is what Bhagavad Gita at the end says, I have told you whatever I wanted to tell. Nasroshyasi vinangsyasi. If you don't listen, my dear Arjun, you will perish. Like that, if we don't listen to this preventive advice, all of us in one bundle are going to perish and make our next generations suffer this onslaught. Okay, save the heart by working hard to prevent the blood vessels being. This is the beautiful tiny blood vessel, which is, you know, the diameter of that 2 to 3 millimeters. They are not, 1 5-inch, drain pipes. The 2 to 3 millimeter pipes. How much time it will take for those tubes to be blocked if we are not careful? A 2 to 3 millimeter size tube, how much time it will take to get clogged? And that is the reason for the heart attack. And then save the heart, and then you pave the heart. That is with your happiness, spread happiness. And then finally, equality. Kim gangam buddhi bimbitem baramanau chandala vidhi payah pureva antaramasti kanchanagati mritkum bhayorvambare. Shankaracharya in Manisha Panchakam. What is saying? What is the big difference for the sun that is shining in the mother Ganges and in the cesspool of the slum dweller? The same sun. He never discriminates. This is cesspool and this is Ganges. But we try to, at every opportunity, try to practice difference and discrimination. Kingangam buddhibimbitem baramanau ambaramani surya chandala vidhi payah pureva. Slum dwellers, cesspool of the slum dwellers, Ganga Bhumi. Kimva antaram asti. Hare kimva antaram asti. That's what. With compassion, you try and help those who are needy. They may not ask explicitly for help. Recognize and be compassionate. And then anukampa. This is called in Sanskrit anukampa. Anukampa is not somebody is asking. You yourself perceive and then do that. There's a lot of things that we all here. We have to work a lot. It's hard work. It's required to fill this gap. And remember, this iceberg is only 5% of the huge 95% of the burden in the ocean. Whatever we see is only a tip of the iceberg, and rest of it is in the ocean. If we work hard, we can melt the iceberg and see that our travel in the ship is without any hazard. You know, why Titanic sank. We don't want that Titanic sank. And the Pisa Tower is leaning. The Pisa Tower is leaning. At any moment, it is ready to